Hi guys, welcome, welcome. If you want to sketch by understanding what you're looking at and focusing on a few key features rather than breaking something down into shapes, then you are in the right place. And I'm very happy for your company. So today we're going to be doing this little female Rufus Hummingbird, and I want you to get your scrap paper, and I'd like you to find a pen. Oh look, there's a lot of shadow from the light with my angle. Oh, well, so what? You got to focus on the reference photo, not what I'm doing. But I want you to choose a pen that can give you some pretty fine lines, not really drop a lot of ink. We don't really have a ton of shading to do today. What I want to focus on today is primarily the angles. So if you're all set up now, that's great. Once again, when you choose a starting point on your paper, give yourself room. I mean, just because it's a little hummingbird, it doesn't mean that you're not going to end up with a huge sketch, right? Which is probably what I'm going to end up doing. But we have the bill and the body, and then we've got to give ourselves lots of space to get these wings in. So when you start on your paper, make sure you've got space to go this way. And I'm super happy because today we don't have to dick around with feet and legs. So not that I'm running away from stuff that's difficult, but jeepers creepers, isn't it nice to have a break from doing a sketch where we don't have to worry about all the toes going around a branch? Anyway, so already I'm enjoying this way more than before with the other ones. See, I'm complaining already. So what's important here? Basically everything. See how her head has this real sharp angle around the back. Now, I'd like you to try to get this angle, but if you don't worry about it, because the birds, they feed at different angles, okay? So if she ends up being a little bit more flattened out, it doesn't matter. But this angle from the back of the head, down the back of the head and into the upper back here, that really determines her position. So anything that you do is going to be fine. So don't worry about it. So how about we just, and also let's maybe see if the wings are about the same length as the body. Well, that's nice. I don't know if it's going to end up like that over here. So let's just start at the top of her bill. And yes, I have my camera in a slightly different position today, so I'm apologizing in advance because I have a feeling I'm going to be hitting the camera at least 3 times. But if we go just starting at the top of her bill and see how this is really kind of level, and then we just have the very slight angle up on the forehead, past the eye, great big eye to look at all the flowers, and then around this curve of the back of her head and down. Okay, that's enough. Let's leave a space right here and get this. See how downward that is? Just make it a little bit steep. If you do it too steep, you can flesh it out later. And see, we've got the back of her head here and the bottom of her throat here. So make sure that these, don't line up, okay? Now, let's just do this little tiny bit for her back. That's pretty steep. Now we've got one set of like the wings, this wing here and this wing here. So what when we draw these in, see how pale this is with the edge of this flight feather right here? We have to keep this nice and bright. Actually, it should be white on our paper because this highlight is going to distinguish the front wing from the back one. So let's just see how sharp that angle is. It's almost a 90-degree angle. Let's just put that pretty high out as a 90-degree angle, and don't worry about the length right now. It's always like so scary when we have to commit to the length of those flight feathers. Okay, so that's this little bit here. Oh, you know what? I should have had mine higher. Like that. And then there's a little bit, and then this comes through here. And I know, like, we're just gonna do this dark part here. And see, it's almost parallel. These two are almost parallel. As you know, those wings beat in tandem. So this is the part where I want to have this edge white on my paper, because this white section here is going to be what distinguishes this wing from this wing. Okay, this goes like way down her body. Too much to commit to right now. Let's go back to her tummy, and it just comes out a little bit here and almost straight down, and then curves to her toes. And we're gonna fix the claws later, and then there's all the loose bum feathers right there. And this section is pretty wide. Still having to mess around with tail feathers. We don't have everything completely easy today. Don't commit to the length of the tail either. Let's go back and see all these things that we're not committing to. See how thick this is here? This is because this is like primarily the bulk of her body, right? So have it fairly, not too heavy, because you can always make it thicker later on. Gosh, where do we want to go now? Okay, if you've done that, that's pretty good. Let's just start working around the bird and putting in some of the markings, especially around the face. Get the eye. See how big the eye is? To find all those red blossoms. And it's fairly circular with the lid making the eye look flat on the top. And the white reflective dot is like right in the center. We might as well do the same. And just give ourselves a minute to relax and calm down and do something simple. My therapy talk. And then just, we can just put a sort of like the border where those darker feathers are coming off the bill, the front of the face, and these darker markings on top of the head, a little bit around to the back. Oops. And we'll just spend a few minutes getting some of the markings in, leaving that white around her eye. The bill is quite dark with that highlight where and if it's a little bit wide like mine, make that a little bit narrower. Well, I don't know, I've ended up with a fairly large hummingbird. And if you feel like she's a little bit too thin, we can fix that later when we're going through and just doing some corrections. Just a little bit of darkness on the shoulder there. And here, and then into, just so that we sort of like don't get too screwed up on where we are. And this little dark patch here, and then this darker patch here, and then this darker border for that feather. So if we just work through the wing, this should be a little bit higher up. And then there's kind of like these small feathers in here. And then we can go down and do this row. However, it's easiest for you to make these little C's. And then we have a little bit of loose feathering here, and this dark feather border here. Now see how this dark feather border here is kind of how it lines up with the bum feathers? I should move mine over a little bit. Take these back. Okay. And then we've got these borders here, which I'm like too nervous to put in. So I don't want to have her wing be like too kind of narrow. So allergic to measuring. Okay, so just do the check with the wings, because you want to have the wings approximately, if we just do this wing from here to here and see how that goes with her body. Her body's a little bit longer. Well, the bum feathers, don't count the bum feathers. So if I go like this and then go like this, I'll take these out a little bit. It doesn't have to be exact, obviously, but we do want to have it fairly close because it's It's important for proportions, right? And then it comes off her back here. And then these thicker bum feathers and the way they layer into the tail. I don't really like this. There's lots of layering with these feathers on the tail. And I just want to bring this down a little bit too. Darker tummy. So then you can just go through and do some of the markings. And some of the speckles and stuff. Where we've got the darker patches with the rust color. And leave alone those sections that are white. We'll just fill her in a little bit. Focus on the black. And the tan and stuff. Because I've made the body too big, I just want to go back and do a little bit more work on the head. And then we'll just keep working away and make sure that we've got some good definition on these features. So we're just going to be adding some shading and see how smooth the feathers lie. So if you've got some really kind of jagged borders like I do, so fair enough to kind of clean those up. And that's a good chance to change the angles too. If you've got things a bit too flat or too small. So I'm just gonna be a little bit more solid where the green is. And all we're gonna do is just try to clean up and make those those key features a little bit more distinguished. And do the best we can where we can. That's going to be good enough. If we have the proportions okay, sorry, and you know, a couple speckles and some shading, then we should be okay for having done a good job with practicing our angles and everything else. See how this bib comes right up, so just keep your pen away from that. We can put a few speckles in on her throat, but not everywhere. A couple speckles under the eye. There's like a little bit of a definition there. It's almost like a fold in the breast feathers and stuff. Let's just define this rust a little bit, and then where it goes into her back. And then there are some, you know, folds in the feathers where they've come out a little bit from the body, not lying perfectly flat. There's some shading under her tummy here. See, I'm gonna probably correct my angle a little bit later. And see all the feathers kind of like folded where the feet are tucked in? We'll just have some darkness there. And then these are the claws. There's two that are visible. And just a little bit more shading on the tummy. And then we go around onto the side of the body here. We got the bum feathers here. Yeah. And I think I'm pretty far away from the base of the wing where I should be. And I think I've made this too thick. Yeah, I didn't want the tail to be this thick, so it looks way too heavy. Oh, it's all this bright emerald green that's being picked up by the sun. And then we've got the wing actually casting a shadow on the back, and then we've got some darker markings on the back anyway. So if the I was I was going to say you could make the wing thicker if you've got the body too big, but actually I don't want you doing that because the wings are kind of narrow here, so I don't want you to pull the wing down too much if you've made the body too big. I think it's better to have the wing look a little bit delicate. I mean, not all the hummingbirds are the same size, you know. They're not all teeny tiny little bullets going through the air. Some of them are a little bit more solid, so we can have a little bit more solid hummingbird today in our sketch, right? So what are we going to do about the wing, the shading, the end? There's just lots of different, how are we going to do this? I don't know. Let's just go back up to the top. Start by doing this border. It's kind of nice and dark. And then see how that's kind of like this gray, and there's just different highlights. So how about we start by just pulling these out. In certain places. We can leave some of these light. And then just shade the ends. If you can get your pen to cooperate, all I want you to do is actually just get some of this gray down, and we can darken the overlap on some of the flight feathers. I just want a little bit of definition. Just so that one section looks distinguished from another. And then for this back wing, it's kind of the same, but see how these feathers here, that's on the top of the wing? It's like we got to make sure we've got those in there as well. So we'll just have that, and then now remember, we're going to stay away from this white border, this white section that we've created to distinguish this wing from this wing. So once again, let's just go with our gray. And we'll do our darker edge. And then another darker edge. And then this patch is shaded, but let's just start by shading it. We can leave this highlighted outside wing band on her outside of the wing. Just put in a little bit of shading there into the back. Kind of hard to do, eh? With all this emerald green and the black and the different tones of gray and whatnot. And here I was hoping we were going to get off easy because we didn't have to do feet and legs. Okay, well, I'm just sticking around. I don't know about this patch right here. I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to leave it for now. Okay, now let's just turn your paper on the side so that it's a little bit easier for you, and just start shading in some of those areas that should be a little bit darker. And we'll just go back and start adding our contrast. We're not rushing. What we want to do today is just be kind of happy with the proportions. Because it would be good if you could feel comfortable just drawing a hummingbird, not to this level of detail, but just practicing the shape, what to pay attention to. Okay, I want to actually add this shadow that's on her back to sort of make a larger definition between her back and the wing. Especially because I feel like I've screwed up where I've placed her wing here. So I just want to have the back a little bit darker. And then just kind of like go through each section again and again until you're happy with the shading and how you've just kind of like got the details in. And I know we're kind of like messing around a lot with the body. How do I want to get this? But what we'll do, I just want to do this first, and boy, I've really kind of like screwed this up. I don't like the way that's their little bum feathers. No erasers. Who made that rule? But if you can just get in some of the details that you like with the shading and the contrast on the body, then what we'll do is when you're happy with that, we're going to go back and look at the perimeter of the bird and see if we need to make changes to the angle of the head and the shape of the tummy, anything like that, to make it fit. See, look how thick I made this. It's crappy. And I keep shading it, so I can't fix it. And see this curve here? I just want to change that. Oh, now I'm going back to the perimeter of the bird, which I said I wasn't going to do until I was finished with the coloring. Boy, it would be nice to know what the shutter speed was on the camera for taking this picture. I have a hummingbird feeder where they can perch because I think it's better for them to sort of rest a little bit when they're feeding. Not all feeders are like that. Okay, now I want to work on this band of feathers here because they need to have slightly darker tips. To show that it's a different set of shorter feathers. Comes down, but not all the way. And then this kind of boy, you know what? Like a lot of shading work. I really didn't think it was going to be this bad. Maybe we should have used a pen that dropped a lot more color. Anyway, too late now. Well, that's okay. This is just training us to pay attention to a couple details. Whatever you see is fine. Whatever you see is right for your brain at this time. And whatever you draw is going to be perfect. Because it's just a reflection of what you're seeing and able to do right now. And how can that be anything except perfect? Okay, let's have more definition between the front wing and the back one. So see in the reference photo, there's like the two feathers there pretty much. That's about all we can see. So what I want to do is I'm going to darken this. I guess it's like a shaft of the feather. It should just be the shaft. And then the shading behind, the feathers behind are going to be a little bit darker and have those shafts a bit darker too. Anyway, just darken the wing behind. And I've left this really kind of wide in my sketch. So I just want to like tone that down a little bit. I don't want to lose it entirely. But we do want to have some definition between what's in front and what's behind. I don't know if that's mission accomplished. Well, okay, and then, how thick is this? It's too thick on mine. Okay, now let's have a look at some of these angles. See how nice and clean that sweep is? Is the eye nice and big in your sketch? If it's not, you know, honestly, I think it's better to go a little bit bigger than smaller, because see how big the eye is compared to the head? Sorry if my hand's in the way. Let's just go through and shade up her face a little bit again. And me and my scribbly pen, I've got all these little markings that are outside so that she looks a little bit unpresentable. But just take our time. And I wasn't as careful leaving this white patch here. I should have protected this area a little bit better, and I didn't. I'm just gonna like pull in some of this marking around her face and bring that down a little bit more. Yeah, that's the problem when you start and you go too dark. Then in order to have everything else sort of like fit, you've got to go back and super darken these other areas where you've been working to have everything kind of like properly shaded. So yeah, I've sort of lost a lot of the features around her face. How do you feel about the throat that you've done? I'm gonna give her a couple more speckles. And don't worry if the bill seems to be too wide, because, you know, let's have this nice dark section under the bill that leads into the eye, patch in front of the eye. This is some shading on a little bit on her throat. Now, how do I sort of go about fixing? I'm just gonna, you know, this white patch, I think I'm kind of like, I don't really have much of a choice. I just want to put a couple markings through there and do a better job blending the tan on the chest. We can fix this. Right now it really looks like crap, but just how about, look, let's put in these, they're really like broken patches of where the feathers haven't had a chance to sort of lie down perfectly flat. Because she's been flying around from flower to flower. But we can fix this, you guys. So just take some time, do the shading around the tummy, and have move the claws if you have to. Don't have them too prominent, but they're there, and then we'll do some shading around. Not so easy, eh? Little hummingbird. And everybody seems to be able to just do a couple little swoops with the curve of the head, curve of the body, the wings sticking out, and boom, nice little hummingbird on a birthday card. Well, we're not there yet. Let's just darken the rust a little bit around the bottom of her tummy. And these other patches. And then soften this edge. When in doubt, work upside down. You wouldn't believe how much work I do upside down. I don't know what's wrong with my brain. Okay, let's just fix some of the... Did you already do a good job with the tips of the flight feathers? Or did you just kind of do something fast like me? I don't know. What do you think? Let's check the angle. And see if there's any... I don't want to make this any bigger, right? See how the eyelid, or that's not a lid actually, these are feathers that are protecting the eye. It's nice and flat, so make that flat. That's one thing that we can do. Let's do a straight line over her eye. Okay, let's just do, this is, I don't know, it's not too bad. And then check this angle here around the back of the head and down. There's some good curvature here. That's all right. Bump it out if you need to. And then we've got the curve straight into her back. And see, did you remember to leave a little white thing there, like there? Because that just shows where the light is landing on her back and separates that back wing. There's a little bit more coloring here to bring this down. Okay, are you happy with the wings? Just, if you're not, take a second to darken the edge, the leading edge of those feathers. That's the back wing. That's a little harsh, but that's okay. And then this is the under part of the wing. It should also be kind of narrow, but, and then we can just, when in doubt, do some extra shading. Always incredibly helpful, adding the contrast. See how my the wing feathers are all kind of jagged? And you know, I'm too scared to try to fix it. So don't be a wiener like me. Okay, moving on. How's your contrast with these two layers here? anything need to be bumped up? Or emphasized? And then we do have like another teeny tiny little row of feathers or markings in there somewhere. Okay, like this whole armpit situation going on. I sure hope it's better in your sketch than mine, because I really feel like my brain has kind of completely shut down trying to understand what's going on here. Then the lighter shades there. This is like coming off the shoulder. Now, this section I don't really like at all, but I didn't really know how to use my pen to do this proper shading in here. This does have like a little bit of a collar, and then the splotches, that's okay. And then the little bit of definition in the breast. No, I don't think I should really dick around with this anymore, but I could try to clean these lines up. Because it does kind of like come down and go in, and then she's got her. Hopefully for you, I'm doing this outside your field of vision. So that's because I really feel like I'm not kind of contributing too much knowledge today. Okay, do you like the way you've done her tummy? Oh, that's the problem. Should have had the angle more. Should have had her angled a little bit more. So, oh, you know what we can check right now? Kind of afraid to. Why don't measure your wings on the body? Oh, jeepers. Wait, okay, so is it from, okay, let's just do the inside wing. I know I've done this 10 times before. To the bottom of the, okay, so inside wing, from here to inside wing. Go from there to the head to the bottom of the bum feathers. Like this, to the bottom of the bum feathers. Holy macaroni. That was not planned. Okay, and let's just do a little bit of more shading on her back. Man, I feel like we should like hang up and call it quits, because this is like, I'm shocked. I really felt like I was in problems when I started. Of course, I don't like her face. It was supposed to be pretty little birdie. I don't think we got a pretty little birdie by any means. This is more like a very pale white. We can maybe shade that in a little bit. God, is there anything that we can do to make her look cuter? Not really. I'd love to see your work. You can email me, comment, but honestly, like, I'd love to see your hummingbird. So, yeah, Okay. Free feedback. Well, I'll tell you right now, you've done a fabulous job. Because that's the whole thing about art. You draw what you see, and you just do whatever catches your eye, and that is fabulous. I'm going to stop there, you guys. Okay. Well, this is too thick on my sketch, among other things. And, but you know, first hummingbird. Lots and lots of practice with angles, and I think we're going to be doing more of these in future, because this has been a really good exercise in, you know, just sort of like working out the angles, proportions, and all that kind of stuff. And there are tons of really cool pictures of hummingbirds in all sorts of different positions. I saw one where the bird was flying toward the camera and the tail was flared, and I thought, oh, forget it. We're not doing that first. So, okay, send me pictures of your birdie. It's darn well going to be better than this one, right? So, yeah, love to see it. Okay, have a wonderful day, you guys. I'll see you next time.